for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome. Yeah. Professional around here. So professional. How you doing? Fade to Black. Yeah. How you doing? Today is Thursday, April 16th, 2026. Let's do this, man. I'm ready. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. How is everybody doing? I love it when I look into the chat briefly. You know, I dash in, sit down in the chair, and Ewan's. It's Jimmy's Friday. You guys get it. It is my Friday, closing out another amazing week on Fade to Black. Here's the good news. So we did a full week this week. We're going to do a full week next week. The week after that, we're going to do 3 days because I have to travel on that Thursday, heading out to Delavan, Wisconsin. But here we are closing out another great week on Fade to Black. Absolutely amazing week because Monday we had Lily Nova here, NHI Contact. Here's her book. It's absolutely amazing. Contact. Get it. Tuesday night, we had Toby Johnson and Alicia Pfeiffer, Bigfoot and the Paranormal. Great conversation. Last night, Captain Ron Janix was here. And you guys got a little taste on conversations amongst friends. If you're in my circle, last night is what you're going to get. You're going to get pleasant opposition in points of view, but you just talk through it. How many times last night did Ron go, no, I disagree? How many times I go, Ron, no, I'm going to stop you right there. And that was just amazing. It was so much fun. And there you go. It's just so great to have him on the show. But we're going to close out the week tonight with the one and only, our good friend, Dave Beaty is back with us. He's always working on stuff. Tonight we're going to deal with consciousness and NDEs and the new film that is now out on Gaia, by the way. We will talk about all of that tonight. I've got trailers for both films, and that's going to be great. So we've got those for you shortly. My next event is coming up, like I just mentioned, in a couple of weeks. It is the Contact Modalities Expo. It's May 1st through the 3rd, 2026, in Delavan, Wisconsin, just north of Chicago, right there on the border, where I was born. I'm going home. Man, the event last year was just amazing. I'm so looking forward to everything again this year. It's going to be amazing. So get your tickets. Just go to contactmodalitiesexpo.com. Now, if you're going, I got notification today. It went out on social media. So for the luncheon that I'm going to be hosting, I think they're calling it, I don't know what to call it. It's the luncheon, though, that I'm hosting. There are only 3 seats left. 3. All right. So if you're traveling as 3, get them so you can go together. If you're traveling as 1, 2, right? Okay, but there's 3 left, and which is amazing because it's a great dining area banquet room that we have. It's really big, and there's a lot of space, but it's all sold out. There are only 3 spots left. You can go over to my social media. You can go visit contactmodalitiesexpo.com. That's XPO. And snag your tickets, because don't come up to me there like, okay, Jimmy, man, we're friends, right? We're friends. Okay, here it comes. Can you get me into the luncheon? I can't. I told you what to do. All right, 3 tickets left. Head over to the website and get that done. Today is my Friday. I've got a very cool, busy weekend up in front of me. One of the things now, I'm in the middle of production on a couple of different big projects. So I'm dealing with all of that. Table reads, scripts, directors, producers, everything that Dave knows about. And I'm wading that water right now. But Saturday, got a full day car and bike show at Antelope Valley Harley Davidson. We've got bands on the stage. We've got a custom bike show, a ride. There's always the poker run. Hey, Dave, nod. Have you ever heard of a poker run on motorcycles? Yeah, you have, right? It's crazy, isn't it? I never, until I became a Harley guy, I didn't know what a poker run was. Now I live for them poker runs. Tonight, Dave Beaty is with us. Dave, have you done a poker run? No, nobody can hear you. Just sign language, sign. Have you done a poker run? No, Dave hasn't done a poker run. Tonight, Dave Beaty is with us. Very excited about this. His research as a documentarian and filmmaker has always dived into the cool subjects that are part of our community. I was introduced to Dave many years ago when he started working on the Nimitz encounter. We've been friends ever since. And while all of that was going on, I'm not reading his bio. I'm doing his bio. You can transcribe this later, Dave, and use it if you want. Dave and I spent a lot of time on the phone talking about consciousness and near-death experiences and the connectivity of the universe. And we started, we had a few mutual friends, and he introduced me to some people. And I was just so intrigued about his mind, the way that he ponders and thinks about things, because he knows that there is something going on, and he has managed to connect the dots. And so the new film, which gets into the near-death experiences and the research of Raymond Moody and Bruce Greyson, we're going to be talking about both of them tonight. But also, the show was set up in 2 halves. We're going to do the first half of the show tonight, near-death experiences and consciousness. Second half of the show, all UFOs and the Nimitz encounter. Multi-Emmy award-winning television producer and cinematographer David C. Beaty joins us once again here on Fade to Black. Dave, how you doing? How do you spell your name? You know what was so funny about that? You go, Jimmy, I've been dealing with that my whole life. Whatever. It's good, man. It's all good. Oh man. So how you doing? And so the new project, let's get into this, which the consciousness connection, and putting this together. You know what? Can we just be transparent for the audience a little bit? Just transparent. He's nervous now. He's nervous. I remember you a couple of years ago as you were tightening this up. And you did call me and you go, okay, man, I'm about ready. Let's rock with some distribution. Remember that phone call?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that you were like already sort of engaged with Gaia and like, and after, that first conversation that we had, it was like, boom. I mean, I'm seeing you all over Gaia.
Yeah. But I don't even know how to respond to that. But here's the thing. That's what friends do, right? You call up and you just go, man, I'm ready. I just need some ideas. You got anything? I'm working on a few other things here. And anything that you can pile onto this would be appreciated. And here we are doing a show about the film and its distribution through Gaia. And just congratulations, man.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I remember back to those days specifically because back then, I mean, we didn't really have any funding. We were self-funded. It was a passion project, basically. And we had been raising some money on GoFundMe and so on. And Dr. Bob Davis and myself had gotten some interviews in the can, and we're like, this consciousness stuff, there's really something to it. And both him and I wanted to like start bringing in some of these other topics that are oftentimes out in their own little categories. And so, you know, I was talking to you, and you know, I was saying, you know, what are some good avenues? And you said that, you know, Gaia actually, you gave me some really good positive vibes about that. So, you know, we reached out to them and it really worked out. And this is the second film that we've done with Gaia. So the first one was released last year. You know, we call it Foundations because it's a foundational deep dive into all the things that are known, so to speak, about consciousness today, and what some of the evidence that perhaps consciousness is not just a product of the brain, as neuroscience and materialist science would have you believe. So that was the first one. And then after that, we went back and we said, hey, we want to do this deep dive into near-death experience as far as consciousness goes. And they, you know, open arms. They said, look, guys, this sounds great. We're going to let you do it. And the other thing is, you know, it's so wonderful that they trust us to go out and gather these stories and tell these stories. They saw that what we did with the first film, and they let us run with this second film. And, you know, I'm super proud of it, actually. So thanks.
Yeah, what inspires you? Oh, that Emmy behind you inspires you. Does it ever get old walking in and looking at that and going, yeah, well, that's pretty cool? You know what I have? I have Guitar Center top 10 salesman awards. That's what I look at. But what inspires you to think outside of the box? If I gave you a subject, you would go and do the deep dive into it where other people would stop, you know what I mean, and just do the forward facing part of the story. That's never been your thing, has it?
No, actually, you know, I think it's almost one of these things where if you put in the work and you put in the, you know, I guess, willingness to go out there and spend some time and really investigate things, doors will open, and you'll find these rabbit holes to go down, and you'll spend weeks and weeks and weeks chasing things. And sometimes you end up with a discovery that's just like, oh, I can't believe this. I found this. I can't believe this information that I've acquired here. I'm going to share this with everybody. And sometimes people notice that because it's usually something new or something different that hasn't been in anything else, you know. So sometimes we come up with that stuff, and that's like the best part of it, really. I think is those discoveries that we make when we're doing this stuff.
Let's watch the trailer, and then we'll come right back. Here it is.
You're unconscious or clinically dead.
Across the world, people report the same impossible experiences.
My entire life flashed before my eyes.
I felt as if I rose above the hospital bed.
They crossed over and returned.
I was pronounced dead for 8 minutes after a failed attempt to revive me.
From the darkness, a mysterious light approached.
I telepathically heard her say, "It's not time for you to come back yet."
Many doctors and nurses will treat this as a hallucination or sign of mental illness, which it definitely is not.
They found a world without time.
Things felt like they happened in an instant and an eternity.
There is no accepted scientific explanation for these panoramic and transformative experiences.
I became aware of the presence of a disembodied soul.
Our next destination is the consciousness connection of near-death experience.
That's what I'm talking about right there. What are the similarities between that you have found between individuals and their experiences? My experiences that with my NDEs, I've had multiple, are not like anything that I've heard similar stuff, you know, kind of little things, but is everybody's different, or is there something there where you go, whoa, there's something going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are very similar. In fact, in doing the research leading into studying near death and the near death experiences, I started understanding that these researchers that had been doing this their whole lives, starting back in the 70s when this was first kind of picked up as a line of science that somebody could go into, not without a lot of stigma, but they could still do it. But what I found in reading all this all the way up through today was that they identified these core things that most people had. And they're very significant things that people experience. So when we started looking at witnesses that we were researching and trying to bring forward people that perhaps, hadn't been heard from before, that had very compelling stories, we started finding these similar experiences, same, I guess you would say, commonalities or common elements. In just a few of them might be that people have out-of-body experiences during NDEs. It's very common. And not all NDEs are somebody that has, say, cardiac arrest, they flatline. Many of them are, but there are NDEs where somebody is in a traumatic situation or approaching a traumatic situation. In those cases, sometimes people have these NDEs, and they're almost the same as the people that are flatlined. And the experiences, first of all, are very vivid and real. People say that, it's even more real than everyday life. They remember every aspect of the experience and the encounter. So, some common things might be that people have an out-of-body experience. Some people might see a tunnel or tube-like structure that they enter into this tunnel. Some people might see a light. So that's very common. And not everybody has every one of these experiences, but that all those things are common in NDEs in general. So, some other common things that people say, they approach this light that's all encompassing. So maybe it starts far away and they approach this light, or this light approaches them. And then it envelops them in what they may describe as all-encompassing love, a type of love that they've never experienced here on Earth. In fact, many of the encounters and experiences during near-death experiences seem to be enhanced in colors and sounds, and every kind of sensation is more vivid, for instance. So they experience love, like all-encompassing love, I guess, empathetic love that they never experienced here on Earth. So that's something, further on, maybe they come into contact with other beings. In many cases, people report what they say are deceased loved ones. So they may encounter their grandparents or even deceased pets, for instance. They may come into awareness of these other beings or entities. Sometimes it's maybe a higher dimensional being, a being of light that's guiding them. And maybe sometimes people do see religious figures, but it's not always seeing God or Jesus, for instance. In some cases, it's even maybe deities that are not part of their religion. So people do have those experiences as well. Oftentimes in a sort of lesson or a teaching type environment where they're being shown things. Another very common experience would be called the life review. And this is very common, one of the ones that almost everybody has. And that's where a person is sort of shown their timeline of life from the very beginning till today. And they're shown specific events in their past that were meaningful in some way. And one of the most unique and transformative experiences is this life review, because people not only experience it from, say, their own perception and perspective, they sometimes see these events as through the eyes of the people that were affected or involved. And many times it's showing somebody a lesson about something they did, for instance.
Yeah. They're like, man, I thought I was cool. I was kind of a dick, right? You know what I mean? Let me ask you this. I just interrupted you, and we'll get back in the flow. I love that. In my experience, I'm not going to get into it. you're the guest, but was also pretty dang cool. All right. What about, I have not heard somebody come back and go, man, I was at the gates of Hades. I got scorched. I saw this. It was horrible. I don't want that. No, we don't. Why don't we hear about that? Is it that hell doesn't exist?
I think that maybe, it just has to do with the reporting, for instance, and the stories that get played and, what's out there in media and books and so on. Because really, I think the research says that somewhere between 10 and 20% of people that have NDEs have negative experiences that are uncomfortable, or, that they come away feeling that it wasn't a positive event for them. So not all NDEs are these joyous things. Now, the vast majority, 80 to 90%, are very positive experiences for the people that have them. But you're right, there are some that it's not pleasant at all. So,
do you remember, speaking of that, on Coast to Coast with Art Bell in the 90s? I had nightmares over this. Friggin' Art played the audio of what somebody said was a recording of hell. Did you ever hear that recording?
No. You sure it wasn't like a Zeppelin record played backwards?
It was insane.
Wow.
It was insane. It was,
I gotta look that up.
It was a million screaming, crying, pain-filled voices. And it went on for like 15 minutes. It was dude. And this was in the 90s, right? So, digital production today, you could have fun with that and do it. This is this is like somebody, if it was fake, it wasn't Mel's hole. But yeah, okay, John just said he remembers that. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Dave, I'm in my bed. It's dark, it's 1 a.m, and I'm just like, what am I listening to? It's like, what? Anyway, feel-good books. That's people want to hear the good side of this. There aren't enough reports when it comes to NDEs of like Crazy Town. So it makes me wonder two things. Should we fear hell, or has that been removed? And with all of this feel-good stuff, do we fear death? And what are the responses to that with the people that you interviewed?
I would say that, the people that we talked to, and we conducted live interviews with probably about maybe 15 different people that we were able to locate through Dr. Jeff Long's NDERF archive of case reports, where people can go on and submit reports. And he opened that up to us to contact people. So we talked to probably about 15 people and for several hours. And in that, like almost to a person, they all said that they completely had lost their fear of death. That after this experience, that they no longer felt that death was something that is the end. That they came away. I mean, I'd have to go back and listen to every single one, but pretty much that's what I took away from this whole thing, was that the people are coming away saying, that there's hope. That this
is that a good thing though? You know what I mean? What if somebody lost their job, is going through a divorce, just life, just cars repossessed, your dog didn't come home, like a country song, like a good country song. Somebody going through all of that. I love country music. Everybody save the email, please. Somebody going through all that, and they go and read one of these books or listen to you and I, They go, well, you know what? Okay, well, let's just check out something else then. That's the Pandora's box for me. I don't want to dispense of advice. You know what I mean? Is it a good thing to say? Well, no, it just continues. Nothing to fear here.
Well, I think that, the caveat in that is that while, yeah, they lost their fear of death, the other part is this learning about, for instance, what their life is about, especially this life review things comes away as being one of the most compelling, transformative experiences that these people go through. And a lot of times it's about like looking at their life and figuring out, hey, you have an option, you have the opportunity here to look at what you're supposed to be doing, what agreement you had when you came here on this planet, and what you've done and what you're doing now and what you haven't done yet. So there's this big part of it that's about life on Earth and what we're supposed to be doing in our lives here, why we're here. So while that, home kind of the other side ideas may sound great, it's not a way to escape what we're doing here.
That's right.
I think that came away. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I'm going to actually steal that. I'd never put it that way before. That's really well said. For me, it's not about me, but I'm interested in what others that you have talked to have felt, because when I opened my eyes, and I had been in a coma for 4 days. All right. When I opened my eyes, I didn't have an out of body. I didn't know, I didn't see myself in a hospital bed. So I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have any life review. I didn't meet anybody. I didn't run into, Saint Michael or whatever,
Sure.
angel, archangel, whoever, to see if I have my ticket stubs. None of that happened. So I didn't have a light at the end of the none of that happened. But when I opened my eyes and the room became flooded with doctors, he's alive, right? I was like, what's the big deal? I wanted to go back. That was the trippy thing. I was like, man, I don't want to be in this. I want to go back to where I was, because it was fun and it was cool. With the people that you interviewed, did anybody say that they were okay with it?
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, Joe McMoneagle, right? The remote viewer,
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy is great. I've had him in like every film, and of course, he had this like fabulous reported NDE, when he was back in the Army. And one of the things he says is that, so he's like in this light that I described, this all-encompassing love, and and he said, if this is what, I guess at the time he thought to himself, that this was what death is, this is where I'm supposed to be. And when he was told that he had to go back, he said he was trying, he didn't have a body, but he was trying to grab on something to hold on to, because he didn't want to go back to his body. That's how awesome it was in his experience in that realm.
Yeah. The other thing that I've heard from so many people, including like Eben Alexander and Danny and Brinkley and others that I've spoken to about this, is that although I don't have any fear or concerns, I don't have all the answers, but I'm pretty comfortable in that. But I really love life. That's the other thing. I love this. I love my family and my friends and my career and this planet and the people around. I dig this journey. So I'm going to rock this one out, right? This version, the best that I can, and be the best person that I can be, because that's the fun, blissful, right thing to do. And that's the takeaway. Did others have the same takeaway?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's some really profound witnesses in my film. I mean, some of the stuff is really, really hard to watch. I'll admit that for people that haven't seen it. Case in point is the story of Jeff Olsen,
Can we get into Jeff? Can we talk about Jeff's story? What happened to Jeff?
So Jeff, you know, back in the 90s was a very successful advertising marketing guy. And out of college, he got married to the love of his life, you know, very young. And they had a couple of young boys, a baby and a toddler. And it was just the best life that he could possibly have. And he ended up in a catastrophic multi-role automobile accident where he lost half his family in this situation. And so, you know, Jeff was gracious enough to talk to us and share this experience because, you know, since then he has tried to share what he learned during this event, this tragic event in his family, and what he took away from it all these years later and how he overcame that, you know, tragedy and loss. And, you know, one of the things that he said in his deepest, darkest time when he was going through multiple surgeries to repair his crushed body, he said, you know, that he was almost at the point of, you know, that he didn't want to be here. And he was really feeling dejected and depressed. And he was feeling like, if there's a God, you know, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? And it was like at that point where he had the second profound NDE, and he was told that, you know, we didn't do this to you. We did this for you. We facilitated this for you to help you with this experience. And he came away with an understanding that the experiences that we have here on life, while some are tragic and some lives are challenging and some lives are not as challenging, that each of us has a role to play in those. And perhaps we have some, I guess you would say, predeterministic reason for coming to this planet, something that we need, you know, again, this is getting into a metaphysical discussion, but do we have a role to play in our lives that we live here before we're born, for instance? We come onto this planet. Are the things that happen in our lives in some ways pre-planned or like set up that we had a hand in agreeing to before we came here? And that's what he was saying, that wasn't done to him, but it was done for him.
How does he accept that? That's a paradigm shift. That is altering everything that you were probably raised on in your very foundations. And you could swing either way. You can get angry about it. You cannot buy into it, or you can accept it, right? It's got to be a tough road.
You know, really, I think for him, it was the experience he had during the NDE. A lot of people that have these experiences have a transformational shift that on the other side, their life is completely different. So going into it, you know, an event, you may approach your life in a certain way in your beliefs, but coming out of an event like this, people are radically changed. And, you know, I think for him, what he was shown, you know, about his family and what happened, you know, while he was having an NDE, and what was explained to him allowed him to process this in a way that sort of removed some guilt and let him understand that this was an experience that he had to have, and that we're all loved and there is forgiveness for everything. That it's not about blame. It's not about guilt and blaming people or this, you know, in our lives, the events that happen. So that's kind of where he arrived at it. And I found that, I think, across the board in so many people that they said that in these experiences of reviewing events in their lives, perhaps events that they weren't so proud of, right? That they got this overwhelming feeling that they're not being judged. It's not about that. It's about learning and coming away with a better understanding of these experiences we have. And in many cases, when they come back, they change their lives.
How has it changed you?
Well, I think that when I hear what people are saying, and in fact, some people come back and they like sell all their worldly possessions. They have no need for wealth. They have no need to climb the corporate ladder. They quit their job. Their marriages fail. I mean, this happens. This is a common thing with NDE people. They
What
may.
I did? I did the opposite. I went from 1 guitar to 200. I was like, screw it, man. I'm only going to be in this version of Earth. Well, man, I need some guitars. But no, that is exactly, I think for so many, including myself, I stopped chasing money. It was a weird thing to do. I just stopped. I chased what made me happy. And if I was able to pay the bills from that, perfect. Right? Chase your bliss. Don't chase the money. You're never going to catch up to it. Chase your bliss, nail that down. And then if you're happy, right, then things will take care of themselves. And that's the view that I took. It was really weird. I didn't put the value on money that others around me. And what I was raised, don't we all watch those TV commercials? Right? Don't we all see what's the meaning of life? 3-car garage and a pool. That's it, right? That's the meaning of life. And you get to the end and you find out when you've got a 4-car garage and a pool, that's not the secret to happiness, is it?
It's so interesting, even for young people, in the film, Kaylee Killington, who's like a 25-year-old college student that we found,
Mm-hmm.
She's just such a wonderful, bright light to talk to now, especially considering when she describes her life before her NDE event, which was, completely depressed and like her life was going nowhere, for instance. And she describes that. And after it, she completely changed her life. And it was her own doing. I mean, she's going to school now. She's totally interested in learning about philosophy and writing and doing art. And, I think that it really was a transformative thing for her. And she completely points to her NDE as being that turning point. So, anybody can improve their life, if you put your mind to it. But perhaps just chasing material wealth and having those feelings of personal greed, I guess you would call it. Like some people that we know probably are doing that all the time. That's what their focus is. It's like, I think for some people, they realize that maybe that's not as important. And things like, just paying attention to your family and like life, like every day, the world that we live in and how wonderful this planet is. And so I think that that's like one of the big things, and we all can do that. I mean, you just mentioned, how much you love life, and I love life too. So
that's it. Is there a secret? Well, if I've learned anything, love and be happy. Those are the two things. Those are the two things that drive us all. And I'm not a hippie. I'm not. I love Pantera, man. I'm not. I've got a Speed Racer shirt on. I'm 62. I think I love life, right? Where I just don't give a crap. Now let's get into the science side of it, not the science side that you're thinking of. It has been discussed a lot that the pineal gland can release DNA, and the pineal gland will release DNA under extreme circumstances, such as an adrenaline rush caused from something. Could the near-death experience be just that, where DMT is the gateway, it's a key to access another dimension, and that if that happens, and that the near-death experience and the experience of death, the adrenaline rush is there, the pineal gland releases the DMT, and you are taken to another dimension where you experience something. Could it be that? And it's almost oversimplifying things, but it's Occam's razor too, right? It checks a lot of boxes.
Well, you know, it's a very good question. In fact, hopefully in the next film of the Consciousness Connection, we're going to explore that in great detail. I mean, one of the things about DMT is that, you know, it is a hallucinogen. So, you know, people have hallucinations on it. And a lot of the experiences that people have on DMT that are reported, they don't necessarily parallel the NDE. For instance, NDE experiences seem almost in general seem almost more real than everyday life. And people come back saying the experience was, I remember every single second of it. I remember everything that happened. It was like, you know, photo in my mind. Whereas a DMT experience might be much more trippy with like swirling colors. And again, I'm not an expert. I haven't done DMT yet.
Okay. Check this out. You sound like me. Nothing wrong with that. Before I did it. Okay. Once you do, and you will, Dave, come on out here. I've got the right shamans to it's not a hallucinogen. It's not a drug. It's not a drug. You want me to tell you why it's not a drug? Dave, you've smoked pot. You're a filmmaker. Say yes. I've smoked pot, Jimmy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. You take the
and hash.
There you go. Man, people still say that word. Man, you're old school. You're just like me, right? Is this. You turn to your friend and you feel it yet? You feel it yet? Okay, let me take another hit. No. DMT, when you inhale it, before it gets into your lungs, 1 second, you're there. It has no time for the bloodstream. There isn't any medical process that's going down where this is entering in, chemicals are changing, it's going through your lungs, it's processing, and it's going through it, it enters your no, it's like this. Gone. You are stepping into another world. That's it. And so all of the processing that you hear about, until you've experienced it, you don't get it. That's your brain seeing another world that it's never seen before. Okay, so that's the processing that is happening there. But it is absolutely real. It is another. It is so fun. If you flew to Paris, you live in Florida, you fly out of Miami, you go to Charles de Gaulle, right? You get off the plane, you open your eye, your brain is now looking at an airport that it's never been to. It's got to figure out what it's seeing. It's got to go see Paris. It's got to see this new European street. Your process, you kind of understand it, but your brain is seeing everything for the first time. You go to Paris again, it's already there. You don't have to reprocess everything. It's the same. So DMT, when you enter that world, Dave, it's the first time your brain has ever seen it. The second time you do it, it's, you know what I mean? It's already there. Right. Okay. So you're understanding. It's unreal. It's unreal. It's a key. It's a tool. It's not a drug. It's simply not that.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's a gateway, right?
It's a key. It's a key. You get on the elevator, you press floor 2, the door opens, and you walk out on floor 2. It's like that. And the other part is, as fast as it starts, it stops that fast. It's an extraordinary experience. When you open your eye, it's 5 minutes, man. 5 minutes. 9 minutes if you really want to go balls out. But you open your eyes and you're talking, you drive home. You can't do that on anything else. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I've often wondered, right? So the adrenaline rush of the moment before the car crash, when you Thelma and Louise, right? And all that adrenaline is kicking off. Is that what's happening? I would say there's a good chance that it is.
Oh, I would say that, and I think some research has shown that DMT is released into the brain at near death, especially depending on the situation of the person's illness, for instance, and if they can conduct that research on the brain. But what you were saying in my research, you're absolutely right. We talked to Rick Strassman, the first PhD that conducted clinical study of DMT under laboratory conditions. Of course, they were doing intravenous, with hundreds of volunteers. And I think, in some ways you may be onto something there about that. It's a way to enter into an alternate dimension with our consciousness, basically separated from our body. Our consciousness go, because not only like you go to Charles de Gaulle, the next time you recognize it, other people can go to Charles de Gaulle and they're going to the same Charles de Gaulle. So that happens a lot with DMT, that people
it does.
They see the same stuff, they see machines, they see, the machine elves, they say, these like beings that seem to be doing something. And sometimes they're not even aware. And then they'll like turn around, and become aware of the individual. Like, what are you doing here? Kind of thing.
It's okay. There's a new phenomena that is happening. Are you ready for this? After the show tonight, just go and research this. It's crazy.
Oh no, right? we're gonna. I'll tell you right now what you're gonna say, because we're going to Boulder later this year to film the whole thing. With the new studio they're building to
hold on. I'm not talking about that.
You're not talking about the laser, the diffraction laser.
I'm working on all of this stuff, man. Don't come on. You're with Gaia now. NDE. But we're working on all of that stuff. And I'm heading out there in 2 weeks for a couple of things that are really cool.
Okay.
But here's the newest phenomenon. You're talking about Danny Goller, by the way.
Yeah.
Is this. People are now getting kicked out of DMT world, no matter how much UIV or smoke, because they didn't have an intention. They were doing it for sport. That's not allowed. So those beings that you're talking about, right? They come up to you and, hey, what's going on? Why are you here? At that moment, your answer had better be the correct one, which is, I want to find out about myself. I've got some issues. And I'm very curious if this is something that I can learn from, right? That's the correct answer. You can stay. If you say, I'm just passing through, over, and you can't come back, you're kicked out. Look it up. Look up getting booted from DMT world, getting booted from they call it hyperspace, getting booted from, getting kicked out of, and you can't go back no matter what you do.
So what happens if you do DMT then?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. It's not a drug.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah, your passport is torn up.
Revoked.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
I have not heard of that. I got to totally.
Thousands of stories now about this. You can't be sitting around with three 4 of your frat buddies,
recreationally.
Right? Yeah, woohoo, let's go, right? MEO, right? No, it's not allowed. Isn't that crazy? It's I haven't had any issue. So my guide, okay, we're talking about NDEs. Somehow we got sidetracked, people. But my guide, she's walking behind me, same guide. I've done it 3 times. Same guide. My guide is walking behind me. This is when I first met her. I never saw her, never looked at her. A lot of people, that's another part of their experience. They talk to and feel the presence of, but they don't feel the need to identify, like turn around and look or, and see.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's behind me. She's like, hey, man. I'm like, hey. She goes, you can go straight. You can turn left. You can turn right. Let's go. You ready? I was like, yeah. Okay. She had this like Latina female, smooth, kind presence and voice. It was amazing. Second time I did it, she was right the same. What's up? Welcome back. I was like, okay, let's go. You ready? I am. Yeah. Okay. All right. And very warm and comforting. That's been my experience, but I never looked. And I asked her, I asked her, I said, what about those UFO machine elves? She goes, not this time. That's what she said. Not this time. I was like, okay, all right. And third time, check this out. I wanted to go see the universe. That was my intention. I just want to see the universe, just show me what's out there. And they took me. I've never spoken about this. We take off, we blast off. I'm like Superman, I'm like flying, and my face is, and we're going through, and we turn the corner through these stars, and this is what happens. And I heard it too. It was weird. A little star, like a little asteroid or comet, it's hard to explain, white, would come and go, I could hear it, and go, boop, on my nose. And I felt it. I felt it hit my nose. And it did it like 20 times. I could hear it coming. I could see it. It's way off out in space. Boop. And I would feel it hit my nose. It was wild, man. It was real. It was real. It was so.
Maybe it was a cosmic spitball.
I can't even. It was. I heard it and I felt it. Yeah, it was a really wild, very small part of the experience, but I just want to share that with you. The physical side of it. I knew it was coming. Boop. Made the sound. Boop. Right on the tip of my nose. But yeah, could that be? And it would be wonderful if that's what it was, which would mean, Dave, that these experiences that everybody's having are real. These are real things. They're very common. They're so similar, not only in the DMT side, but in the near-death experience side, in the death side. We call it NDE. Well, no, there's death that you're being brought back from. So that's a death experience, right? And but they're all so similar.
Is it that our consciousness is able to separate from the physical body, or it's never, permanently attached, but to go to another dimensional space, perhaps, DMT and psilocybin and ketamine and some of these other, ayahuasca, for instance, are able to bring consciousness to another dimensional reality.
And so ayahuasca is different because that's DMT. Okay, so that's the DMT, extended version of it. But other things, those are hallucinogens, and ketamine is something else altogether. But those are, I would say, I would classify those as recreational. Okay, yeah, you can use it for therapeutic stuff for sure, but DMT is not that. DMT is not that. It is it is access to another dimension that is real. That's it. That's it. It is, like I said, I'm listening to you now, and you're speaking like I did before. I had a huge interest in it, but I didn't understand. Once you do, it's a whole nother thing. It's an opening for you where you will then understand why so many people have a difficult time explaining it or trying to talk through it, because you are purely in another world, another dimension. The first time that I did do it, the first time I was driving home here. I was driving home and I was on the freeway. It was about a half hour later, maybe 45 minutes later. I'm driving home and I'm thinking about it. And then it just hit me. Everything that I saw was real. Yeah. Not Dumbo, not unicorns, not rainbows, right? No. It was real. It just hit me just like crazy. It was real.
You know, one of the things is the. Did you experience any beings in any of that?
No. The only thing. Well, I remember all of it. Okay, all of it. It's not fuzzy. It's not. No, it's just. I remember it like my trip to the grocery store today. Okay, so it's just vivid and real. But aside from the voices, the only thing, I can't say only because that's not true, but I did see something very strange that I can't, it's all strange, but I saw this glowing neon jaguar rise up out of this pedestal and unfold. And I know it sounds strange, but you got to understand it was real. So I'm walking past it. I'm like walking and I see the pedestal, and then it's next to me. It's a stone pedestal, and it's like in this alcove. Doesn't matter where it was sitting, but it was off to my right. And I see the pedestal, and then these glowing bricks rise up out of it and then fold it out like this, fanned out into a jaguar.
Wow.
Now, and the crazy part about that was it was real and it was cool, but I watched it. I never took my eyes off of it because I'm going past it, right? And I just looked over my shoulder and I just kept looking at it until it was just like I was too far away. And then I turned back around and continued walking down this path. But it was, now what's the symbolism of that? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you know, one of the things that we're researching now, and the reason I ask you that is because we want to investigate contact with non-human intelligence, and ayahuasca and DMT is one commonality is that people come into contact with non-human intelligence in those. In fact, you know, Rick turned me on to a book recently where somebody was actually doing a categorizing study in this book of all the various DMT entities and beings that people have encountered, and it's not infinite.
Who wrote the book?
I'd have to go look at it because I haven't got it yet. He gave me the name. You can look it up, but if you like just search like DMT entities book or something like that, you'll see it. It's kind of interesting that people report the same types. I don't know if the jaguar would be in there. I know that, you know, Graham Hancock in his book Supernatural goes into great detail researching DMT and ayahuasca, and one of the things that he kept seeing over and over and over were like these snakes. And he describes the snakes that he would see, and he said that, you know, that was mostly ayahuasca, and because there's some other compounds within that brew that they make. It's not just pure DMT. There's other plants and so on. So he said that when he smoked DMT, he did not have that same experience with the serpents, which is interesting.
Well, not to make this a DMT show, but I would love to do that, by the way. There are rules that you have to respect in going into not only this other dimension, but very ancient rules that have been set. That's why the only way to do it is to have a shaman with you, whether it's DMT or ayahuasca, to help guide you through this, and that you don't abuse the privilege of it. So if when you set your intention, which is all part of all of the ceremony going in, I've respected it. I've done the prayers. I've done the things. I've done the intention, eaten a good, healthy meal with others, and just respect the ceremony of it. But when you're setting your intention, that is what you're going to encounter. So with Graham and others, if Graham is seeing snakes, then there's something with him that they are working on, right? And there's so much to look into with that. Remember, with me,
it's fascinating.
They said no, not yet. Her exact words too, and I didn't get mad or anything. Oh, here's the other part. Then we got to head to a break. Is because of all the reading I have done and everybody that I talked to about it for years, I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. It's you know what I mean? It's like the first time you take acid or whatever, you hear so much about it. You're like, oh, right. Okay. So, or anything else, could be pot, could be prescription. You hear so much, you don't want to have a bad experience with anything like that. You don't want to have a bad experience with shellfish. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you don't want to have a bad experience with. But it was so warm. I was so nervous, but I set a good intention. Immediately out of the gate, it was wonderful. It was, have you ever, yeah, I know you have. Remember when you were a kid and your parents took you to an amusement park? Okay.
Oh,
you remember that?
That was
And
the
you're
best,
That's what I'm saying.
Back when we were kids, they didn't have all the stimulation. Amusement park was like the biggest thing you could go to, even if it was just in the next town over or something.
And so you walk in and you see the colors, the music, you smell all of that fun feeling. That's what you have. It's crazy. It's like this warm, fun thing. Yeah. It's just absolutely incredible. So
hey, before the break, I wanted to say the Illustrated Field Guide to DMT Entities by David Brown.
Oh yeah, David Brown. That's good. Andrew Gallimore is really good too as well. Have you read his stuff?
I haven't.
Yeah, Andrew Gallimore, Andrew and Brown is really good. And Danny Goler's really good too as well for research. But Andrew Gallimore, he's in Japan and he's a neuroscientist, PhD, and his books are really good. I would say in the DMT world, in this community, Gallimore is like the guy. He's the Stanton Friedman. He's the Richard Dolan.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah. Andrew Gallimore. So go check out his stuff as well. All right, let's take our break. Our guest is the one and only Dave Beaty with 1T. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Dave, you stay right there. When we come back, we're going to jump into his next project, which is the Nimitz Part 2. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now.
Contact in the Desert is back. Come see a legendary lineup of iconic speakers, including George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Daniel Sheehan, George Noory, Whitley Strieber, Chris Ramsey, Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, and many more. Join us in beautiful Indian Wells, California, May 28th through June 1st, as we explore infinite realms. Get your tickets now at contactinthedesert.com.
I'm heading back to the Midwest for the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd, 2026, in Delavan, Wisconsin, at the Lake Resort. It is beautiful. This is a great conference right in the heart of the Midwest, where I'm from. I'll see you there. Just go to Contact Modalities Expo, that's XPO.com. I will be hosting and presenting once again at Contact in the Desert. That's May 28th through June 1st, 2026, the largest UFO conference in the world. Come and hang out with us June 23rd through July 1st. Tickets and everything else that you need is at contactinthedesert.com. Want to change your life? Want that paradigm shift? Then visit Peru with Brian Forrester and myself for the Inca Celebration of the Sun, June 23rd through July 1st, 2026. A full 10 days of visiting the country, all of the amazing sights, and of course, the celebration of the winter solstice. It's all simple to do. Go to hiddenincatours.com. Come join us for the Monty Python Scotland Tour, August 1st through the 9th, 2026. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event where you get to go to the castles from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. August 1st through the 9th, 2026. Just visit HaleyARamsey.com. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. Fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Emmy-Award winning filmmaker, documentarian, researcher, journalist Dave Beaty is back with us. First half of the show, NDEs, his new film, The Consciousness Connection. It is out. The links for everything are below. And now we're going to talk about his other work with UFOs, UAPs, the Nimitz Encounter. And this is your new project. I would say passion project, because you have never let your foot off the gas on this. But Dave, I have to ask you, it's been a crazy ride since that first film, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. The big D, right? You know, I hear you.
What do you ultimately, before we get in to the latest on Nimitz and what you're doing, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to say the word whistleblower. I don't like that, but you've got another witness that you chased down, that you've been pursuing, and we'll get into all of that. But today's climate, did you see this coming, where we had the Pentagon, we had, both houses, elected officials, and of course the media? All of this is front burner stuff. Did you see this coming?
Absolutely not. Not when I did it. I mean, back, in 2017, when the Times broke that story on the, the Nimitz and ATIP, I never thought that we would have congressional hearings and all these people coming forward. Again, it's confusing and it keeps changing, and it's hard. Even if you're in this kind of topic, it's hard to keep up with all this stuff because there's always something new coming out. Just to stay on top of it, the all domain, anomaly research office, the set up at DOD and the congressional oversight hearings and all, the David Grush and all this stuff has happened since that film and that the New York Times article specifically came out. I never saw any of that coming.
Okay, a couple of things out of the gate. When specifically we talk about the Tic Tac, and you've done so much work into this, not only with the film and stuff, but the research going into it as well. Do you think it could be us, that could be a Northrop Grumman or some other corporation's advanced technology that is being tested against us, or could it be otherworldly?
Well, that's one of the things that I think in this next version of the film that I'm going to dive into a little bit that we didn't get into very much in the first one, specifically just because it was sort of a short, and I didn't try to offer explanations of what any of this is or what it could be. In this next iteration, just in listening to the witnesses that I have in this new version, I start to come away with this idea that, geez, it really, really seems like that they were trying to get all of the stuff that might have recorded any of this and had any radar specifications and so on, and get rid of it and take it away really, really fast after the event happened. And, I've always sort of been on the fence with this case, from the very beginning. I start with, there's no way that this is human technology. And I know that a lot of your listeners believe that as well, that this is one of the best cases ever that supports this idea of non-human, some type of craft that no human could possibly withstand the G-forces involved in the maneuvers, and that we don't have any anti-gravity technology like that unless it's a Bob Lazar type reverse engineering stuff. So there's that. But then in the last year in doing this work, I started to look at something else. And that is this idea that the U.S. Navy and Special Operations Command have been trying to do stuff that sort of spoofs the enemy or tricks the enemy into thinking that we have things that we don't have, using advanced radar technology and RF technology that presents false radar returns to enemy sensors. So they might think that there's, a squadron of fighter jets coming in, or ballistic missiles or something like that. So we really are doing that. So we do have technology
to spoof their sensor network.
Right. So if you take that one piece and you say, is it possible that what the Spy 1 Bravo radar was seeing weren't physical objects, but were some type of radar jamming or radar emitting craft that were meant to jam enemy, maybe a test bed or something. Maybe it was a drone that was sent up from San Clemente Island or San Nicolas Island, these Navy installations out there that were part of a program to, that month that was testing this stuff. Is it possible? That's one piece of it. That doesn't explain what Commander Fravor and
Alex Dietrich, right?
And I mean, that's the part that you can't explain because they said they saw it.
When Fravor, we're talking about a commander fighter pilot, right?
Yeah.
When he says it just went, right?
Like,
okay, what did he see? We can spoof radar. We can holographic Project Bluebeam. Okay, we could do. I get that, but what did him and Dietrich see? That's where everything gets really complicated for me. Hey, let's watch. You've got a teaser here. Let's watch this really quick.
As Fast Eagle returns to the area of the ocean disturbance, the object is gone and the sea is once again calm. Soon, they land on the ship. In the Nimitz primary flight control tower, Air Department tech Jimmy Hernandez has been following the UFO encounter.
We basically work alongside the air boss and the mini boss during flight operations. And one of the positions I like being on was the ISIS board operator. The ISIS board operator is the person that sits at the ISIS board, and basically we're documenting what aircraft are airborne. We also keep track of the helo that's airborne, because we always have a helo that's airborne during flight operations. On this headset that I'm wearing, I can hear the pilots talking to one another, as well as to the air boss. I was up in primary flight control, and I was on the ISIS board that day.
Jimmy heard Fast Eagle's radio communications during the UFO intercept.
I could hear the people from the Princeton talking to him and I could hear him responding to them, and they said that that it was no longer in the area that he was in, and that it had gone further away. I'm not sure how far, but it had gone further away.
Here we go, right? I love this. Okay, so tell us about Jimmy.
So Jimmy, is like the other witnesses that I have in the film that sort of reached out to me based on the YouTube channel in the first film, asking witnesses to come forward. And, geez, I have like hundreds and hundreds of emails unrelated to the Nimitz, but many military service people have had these experiences and contact me. Jimmy was kind enough to reach out probably about a year ago, and he said that he's seen all of these reports, and he realized that he had witnessed something important, and especially once he started telling me what he saw from the primary flight control, the PRI-FLY as they call it, which is pretty much the air traffic control tower on the Nimitz, high above the flight deck where the air boss and so on is running. So basically he came forward and he told me the story. And I would say that the key point that he makes is that he had eyes on these guys that showed up on the Nimitz soon thereafter. And while he didn't personally with his own two eyeballs see them actually taking data recordings, he followed their movements between everybody else that he was in contact with his headsets, because he can talk to all these other enlisted personnel all over the ship. And that's all they did, because, they're out there for days and days and days. So when they're not actually, running operations, they're all like BSing on the headsets, hey, this is Tri-Fly 1, like basically what's everyone else doing? Nothing happens
tonight. What's for chow tonight? Yeah.
Nothing happens on the ship without them all knowing about it in 2 seconds, because it's like a grapevine. So he's like, he knew where these guys were. These two guys that showed up, they went to the wardroom where the pilots were. He said that they were there. They took something. He says that then that they went to the hangar deck where the jets were that were involved in this operation, and that the aviation technicians there basically took something off the jet and gave it to these guys. So again, what exactly they were taking, but this is like I think the fourth or fifth eyewitness I have to people coming aboard these ships right after this event and taking all of this data. What does that mean? Again, this is speculative. I don't have a copy of the data. I don't know what they were taking, and we don't know who they were. In fact, he doesn't know either. He said that they weren't wearing insignia on the flight suits that they had. So this is just another piece of the puzzle that I'm adding to this. And I think there's two answers here. One is that they were 3-letter officials or Navy personnel that basically were sent in to scrub this stuff because it wasn't supposed to be recorded. It wasn't supposed to be seen. It wasn't supposed to have been shared on the SIPRnet. And they were there to get it and take it away and make sure there's nothing left that anyone could show anybody else, because perhaps it was classified. So that's one thing. The other idea would be that these guys are the same guys that show up when people have UFO sightings and tell them to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what kind of juice card do you have in your wallet that you can land on an aircraft carrier and do whatever the fuck you want?
No
right?
doubt.
What? I just don't because you can't. You can't do that. It's the opposite of that. That is the most controlled environment that we have in all of our military. A carrier group? Seriously? And somebody's going to land on a helo and just walk around and grab this and grab that and grab hard drives and log books and then leave. What kind of what ID are you carrying?
Hey, and you know, they were granted carte blanche by officers on the ship.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Jimmy said that they were led around by Nimitz officers. So somebody knows who these guys. I mean, he said that they're probably, I mean, I said, have you ever seen anything like this during your time there? And I think he was in the Navy for like 9 years. He was at sea for like 6 years on the ship. And he said that in that entire time, he had never seen anything like that, where people that were not from the battle group just show up, you know, on a helicopter that's not their helicopter, show up and get off and go around and take all this stuff from the fighter jets and then leave with it.
Yeah. If you're a helicopter, not part of the group, airplane, small plane, and you approach a carrier group, you're going to get shot down. You're not landing. That's the line, right? It's great. Who has that kind of juice? That's the big question here. It's spooky and it's scary.
Yeah.
And then here's the other unanswered question. With all of the information that we have of the Nimitz, how many press conferences were held by the Pentagon and the White House press office that dealt with the Nimitz, the Tic Tac, and the release of videos, non-release of the videos, unauthorized, you know, all of these questions. This is nothing new. Why hasn't the Rear Admiral of that carrier group stepped forward and been questioned? I don't get that part.
Well, going back to the beginning, you know, when you look at the officers involved, you know, the Commander Fravor was very high level senior commander of the ship in the battle group. I think he said he might have been number 7 in the chain from the top, something like that, as a squadron commander. He said that didn't happen, what I just told you. He said these guys are liars, like that no one showed up. Oh, and Jimmy says he had to sign an NDA right after this event that next day, and he sent it to me, by the way. So I have a copy of his NDA that he signed.
You do? Ooh.
Yeah. So, well, I have part of the copy. That's another story. But I do have a copy.
Somebody's knocking at your door.
You know, it's sort of
You're
like
there.
You know, this didn't happen. You know, no one took anything. I would know. No one took any tapes. Everyone laughed at us. No one cared. You know, they just blew it off and played the X-Files theme on the thing. They laughed at us and you know, and then we lost the tape. Here's another thing. Here's another thing. And again, if anyone in your audience knows anybody that's an FA-18 fighter pilot, I happen to know one or two. And in discussions last week, because I was like floating all this stuff about submarines and air launched drones and things. And one of the things that the fighter pilot told me, he's like, hey, by the way, he goes, there is no effing way, that they didn't record. And I said, what are you saying? He goes, this was a 2-ship. He goes, there's no way that these guys in the Wizzos didn't record the whole thing. And I said, well, what do you mean? He just said that in the naval aviation community, when you do these types of things, you record. It's not just, we forgot.
Right,
right. You don't say, oh, we forgot. Oh, we just forgot to record. He said that didn't happen. That's what he said. I mean, again, he knows the guy that was the Fravors Wizzo. But again, I don't know. I don't know if they did record something. Why did they say they didn't?
Do you know? Do you remember? Let's back up. Let's go to the Wayback Machine. Before all of this stuff kicked off, all of it, I happened to come across Paco's website. Okay, where he tells the story of the Nimitz encounter. This is before TTSA. This is before all of that, right?
Right.
The original of everything was on this website for Navy pilots. Yeah. Paco's a cool dude, by the way. It's a great website. I spent a lot of time on it. And when I read about that, the way that Paco handled it, and these are aviators. They treated it with respect. It was, these are straight, you know what I mean? These are straight, narrow pilots. But when I first read about that, I thought, okay. And then everything blew up from there. Did you read Paco's original article that he wrote up about Fravor and Fravor's original statements?
I became pretty good friends with Paco Chirichi. In fact, he's the one that kind of let it be known that the second fighter pilot was a female, because at the time, Fravor and Jim Slate were protecting Alex Dietrich, and they didn't want anyone to know her name, and they kind of kind of made it seem like it was Jim that was the other pilot. But in reading his report, it mentioned she said this or she did this. So I asked him, I said, will you confirm that that was her? So I use his article probably as the basis for the first film,
Yeah. And here's the other thing that at that time, I think the audience really needs to understand, we didn't know, we were all, especially me. It wasn't like I was on the phone calling people. Have you seen this, website? I was going down the rabbit hole. And then I stumbled upon, because of that, I found Fravor on like IMDb. And then I find this TV series that he was on, and he had, I forget now, but he had done like the first night landing on the Nimitz or something. It was some crazy thing.
It's called Carrier on PBS.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
So I watched that, and watching Fravor come in to the wardroom, and everybody like, hey, and right there, what? So he's a real dude. Okay, so right, that's when for me all of this started to get put together in a way where we have evidence, we have the actual pilot. This is an aircraft carrier. We have a group of aviators. Everybody's talking about this in their community, and there is something here. And then we all know what happened after that. But yeah, that's right. It was Carrier. Right. But that added the legitimacy, the vettedness that we needed for this case, right?
Yeah, and Jimmy Hernandez there, like the little Jimmy, like back in 2004, he says he has a cameo in that show. I was asking about it, so.
Oh, he's in it too?
Yeah, like just a quick shot, he said, but he got some camera time.
Right. I have a friend. I can't say anything. You know how filmmaking goes. But there's a big project that's happening right now, like a real film, not a UFO, like a Hollywood film. It's being put together, major casting, and I'm pretty excited. Well, I know the team behind it. I got a text this morning. We're gonna find you a cameo. We have a dinner party at the end of the movie. Would you like to come in and be at the dinner party and maybe do a cameo? Say, hell yeah. I don't care if I'm in the background. I want to be like Jimmy. I want to be able to go, okay, so check this. Freeze frame. That's me right there. That's cool. Yeah, I love this part of it. What about Carson? Carson Camerzel. The other part of this, and I've spoken to, just like you, many people that were part of being debriefed. And then we have Carson. What happened?
Yeah, so Carson saw an object from the deck of the USS Princeton. You know, his take on the events that day are that they're certainly real. He was one of the guys that would, when he was not in, he worked in the cryptologic tech capacity, you know, like as a sort of signal radio analyst on the Princeton. And when he wasn't doing that, sometimes he'd go up to the Combat Information Center and hang around, you know, when he was off duty, and he made friends with some of the guys. So during that week, he actually saw one of the objects on the spot, or the air search radar, because the Princeton has two radars. One is the Spy 1 Bravo, you know, targeting system, phased array. And then they had another air search radar, which is sort of the one that spins around. I think a pulse Doppler called the SPS 49. So that's like your circular thing with the thing that goes around you see on TV all the time. And he said that the objects were there for more than just that one event. You know, according to Fravor, that was it. But according to him, no, these guys were seeing these things all week long. And he walked in there and the guy was like, hey, look right here. You know, this is the object. This is the thing that they intercepted. And he's looking at it. And he said that he went out on the deck on the ship during that week as well. And he saw some very unusual lights. Now, what he said, this is a quote from him. He said, I saw a triangular formation of lights that he at first thought it might be the running lights of an aircraft, but he's like, we're not running any air operations right now at this time. There are none of our aircraft are up as far as he knew. And then he started looking at the way it was moving. And he said that he said today it looked like a drone, like the way a drone stops and then it can go and stop and change altitude. And he's like, it looked back then like an air hockey puck, if you would see it moving around like that. That's kind of how it looked to him. I think that Sean Cahill, who was also on the Princeton, reported seeing a triangular light. I think back in the beginning of this whole case study, he came forward with that.
Yeah,
but
it was Sean on this show.
Yeah,
and he spoke about that, and on the show and off the air. He said that he had binoculars and he was up on the deck and observed them from a great distance, but he knew that they weren't, their aircraft. He knew that.
Right.
What he was like the police, right?
Yeah, Sean was like the whatever, I forget the name of that thing.
Yeah, what do they call the sheriff? He was the sheriff.
Yeah, they'll throw you the brig, right?
Right, but so if my memory's right with this, Sean had said that he had heard about all this stuff going on, and then he heard that they were there, and he wanted to go see it for himself. So he grabbed some binoculars, went up, and sure enough, he saw multiple objects up off of the horizon, and had described 3 in a triangle shape. Right. But I think those are 3 individual objects. That hockey puck thing that you just described, that's interesting because that's what I saw last year over Skunk Works. That's how I described it. I was trying to tell everybody exactly what I was seeing, but it was difficult because it was up like in this area. Like if it was on an air hockey table, it was staying inside the bumpers. I don't know how to explain it, but it was doing just that.
Oh, wow.
It was just same altitude right over Skunk Works, by the way. That's a no-fly zone of anything. Yeah, where Skunk Works, I'm sure you've seen Skunk Works, but where the buildings for Skunk Works, everything else is out there, NASA, Air Force, Plant 42, Northrop Grumman, they're all out there. But where Skunk Works is right next to the runway. So there's 2 runways, but which both in that runway V pattern or whatever you want to call it, Skunk Works sits in the middle. So that's it. That's the that you can't fly anything over that.
Well, that begs the question, like. Well, here's another thing that Carson said, and I don't know what to make of this, but I believe the guy. He said that Camerzell said that 2 of the guys from his shop, he said he calls one the Divo, the division officer, and the LPO, the lead petty officer from the crypto logic guys, were called to the Nimitz the day after the Tic Tac thing for a debriefing. So all these higher level guys, non-coms that were on the Princeton went over to the Nimitz for a debriefing with the admiral. That's sort of
what's a non-com? What's a
non-commissioned officer, not an officer.
Non-commissioned officer.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
So they might be chief petty officers, that sort of thing,
like a sergeant.
Yes.
So
he said that when they came back, they were all told that basically what went down was that this idea that they were going to tell everybody that it was falling ice crystals. That was going to be, if anyone asked about what was going on or what people saw, that's what was going to be the story. Now, why, I think at the meeting they were laughing because they were saying, somebody said that falling ice crystals can't make 90-degree turns and shoot off at 600 knots. That kind of thing, making
good
jokes
observation.
About it.
Yeah, good
observation.
Legit.
There was literally they were coming up with this cover story or something. That was the gist of it. I don't know that there was anything else done other than the fact that they said that this email that had been going around that had the Tic Tac video, so that week on the Princeton and on the Nimitz, certain people had access to the SIPRnet if they had the clearance, that this email had the attachment with what we know now as the FLIR video. So that is probably where it came from. Somebody got a hold of it. I know it ended up on Above Top Secret at one point. It was on that email, they said, and that it was deleted the next day. Gary says that he went back and tried to make a copy of it, and it was deleted off SIPR. So somebody made an effort to get rid of it off that net, so no one else can make a copy of it. So
and there's been more than a few officers and non-commissioned officers that have said the same thing. They went back to look to make sure that email was still there, and it was gone.
Yep.
What was the submarine admiral? What's his name?
Oh, well, there, in that
email, he was sent a video. And what was his name? God, so it just got away from me. But he was sent a video that everybody on the email chain was sent the same video. He watched the video. He talked to some other people that were around him about the video, went back the next day to check the video out again, and it was gone.
Yeah, that's Gaudet, right? Gaudet.
Yeah, Gaudet.
Tim Gaudet.
Yeah, Tim Gaudet.
He was like he testified. So, again, I'm a little skeptical of his stuff because a lot of it is just sort of third-party retelling of something he heard or something he read about.
Gallaudet.
Thank you.
No, don't thank me. Thank my moderator, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Right here. There you go.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate correcting.
He keeps me smart. Yeah, he keeps me smart.
I did a FOIA to try to get all his emails because he said that came in to his email at a specific time around I think the 2015 event where they said they canceled the Go Fast and the gimbal video, that USS Roosevelt encounter off the East Coast in 2015. He said that email that came to him said that they were going to cancel the operations because of these incursions. And I thought that was pretty significant. So I tried to see if I could get anything. And I didn't. I got like 1 or 2 emails that had nothing, unfortunately. But let me bring something up. I want to just bring something up. As part of my research on this and something I've been thinking about, I'm still not entirely sure on this, but I was looking at possibilities of what type of submarine could be doing things out in SoCal in 2004 that would be unusual. And
you mean something that could create a panic of something in the sky?
Well, not necessarily,
or something underwater.
Right. So here's what I found.
Okay.
I located research that the War Zone did back in, I think, 2018, completely unrelated to anything about this case. And I'm looking at it, and what this article basically is talking about is, at the time, the U.S. Navy was trying to come up with some other uses for some of these ballistic missile subs, the Ohio-class submarines, which have the vertical launch tubes for nukes. And they had 2 extra submarines they didn't need. And what happened was one of those submarines was handed over to special operations like SOCOM to use and convert for covert operations near enemy coastlines. So instead of hunting other Russian subs in submarine warfare, these subs are going to be used for ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. And what the purpose would be to drive up to an enemy coastline and then launch both underwater remote vehicles, I think UUVs or something like that. I forget what AUVs or something.
Underwater autonomous vehicle.
And right.
UAV.
So that and air-launched UAVs. And they actually came up with modified capsules. So guess when this happened off the coast of Southern California, where they first brought this thing out?
The Nimitz.
It happened in October 2004. So the USS Georgia conducted a operational mission test of this platform in less than 1 month before the Nimitz encounter, where these pilots go out and they suddenly see this huge disturbance of water on the surface. So I'm not saying that was the USS Georgia. I'm just sort of floating that idea going.
No pun intended. No pun intended. Just floating the idea.
Now,
it's interesting though, isn't it? Wow.
It's super interesting. I really dug into it. And I'm like, did they have drones? Were they launching drones? And I couldn't find it, man. I mean, what I found was that was coming. The air, because these tubes would launch a thing that would go up to the surface. It didn't have to go all through the water. It would go up to the surface and then it would open up and then the drones would fly out of that. That was kind of the idea.
Same thing as when they're launching missiles, right? They're not on the surface. They can be, but they don't.
The missiles go fire through the water into the atmosphere. These things would float up, stop at the surface, open up, and then the thing flies out of a capsule that is tethered in some way to the sub by an umbilical, that type of thing.
So is it possible that that's what Fravor saw when he talked about the disturbance in the water?
I don't know. I mean, Ohio class submarine's about 520 feet long. It's going to make a big, if it's just under the surface, or if was on the surface and then it's submerged. I mean, what's the odds of that thing?
Let's play devil's advocate
Yeah.
here for a second. Let's ask some questions. Wouldn't the Nimitz carrier group know absolutely every single vessel for 100 miles around them, under or above on the surface?
So if you're like the Nimitz conducting training operations out there, who would be like, say if there's a classified sub that's got SEALs on it, because that's what these things were. They were covert surveillance vessels that were being run by special operations, and they had SEAL teams on there. The SEALs could launch their vehicles and lock in and out of these tubes as well. So you could put divers out, from the sub. So it was like their home base versus hijacking onto another sub that it would be the SEAL's own sub, and what kind of classification or special access might this project be under, where it's like, okay, we really want to test this stuff against a real target, and you have a strike group out there conducting operations. We would love to go out there and simulate capturing intel without them knowing about it. Like, we don't want anyone to know that we're out there doing spooky stuff, spy stuff. We want to try our new tech and stuff. And one of the things that I read in that article on the War Zone, it said that they were employing land-based assets. So to simulate what they didn't have yet, which would be the submarine launched drones. So instead of, if they didn't, guess who was working on that tech, by the way? The guy from To the Stars Academy at Skunkworks. That was his project. He was the guy that developed the submarine launched drone.
Now, okay, so let's continue on the devil's advocate part. That gnarly, huge story about the private catamarans off of the coast of San Diego, right off of those two naval islands out there, where the swarms of drones were up and above a couple of Navy boats, and nobody knew where the drones came from, and they thought that they were being launched from that catamaran, right? And they, I think there was two sailboats out there or something. Now, could those have been
tankers,
drones,
right?
What?
They thought they were launched from Chinese tankers.
Yeah, everybody was speculating. Yeah. And if you remember, the Navy, that part of the coastline of San Diego, from Pendleton all the way down to Tijuana, right? That whole chunk of coastline, that is nothing but Navy and radar. That's it. Top Gun is there, right? They know everything. So how can large drones, normal drones, fly for 20 minutes, right? The ones you get off of Amazon, your DJI Mavic 4 or whatever you're getting. 20 minutes, 22, 25. These were out, 50 miles off of the shore. So they were obviously professional large drones. But none of the Navy, nobody claimed responsibility for that inside of the military, unless it was a submarine launched drone that was a special ops. Very interesting.
Very interesting. And if it was a special access program, need to know type of drone, because in 2004, there weren't a lot of DJIs flying around. But if it was a big ass drone, BAD, badass drone. Yes.
I like that. I like that.
Well, look, if you're, part of the strike group and you have these jets and assets in the air, maybe you don't know, maybe you're not read in or something, and you're Kevin Day, and they're like, "Hey, sir, I have tracks on the radar," and the captain's like, "Send the Hornets. We have some in the air doing some training." And you're like, "Roger, Hornet 2-4 vector to," and they fly out there and they look down and they're like, "What in the world is that?" But then later they're like, "What were you guys doing over there? You weren't supposed to be flying over there. We're trying to be stealthy over here and hide and pretend that we're doing surveillance and you guys come and blow our whole thing.
Right.
All right, go. Okay, send the guys over and get all the tapes, get all the radar, get all the pictures, get all the tapes. Scrub this whole thing out. Like,
makes sense,
look,
doesn't it? It makes.
I
sense.
don't know, but then you're saying, Fravor would have to like make some fibs up about what he really saw. They would have to forget that they recorded anything. Oh, we forgot to hit record on our multi-million-dollar jets. Like, sorry, I'm not saying that. I'm just floating this out there for other people to that are smarter than me to make a decision about it and go, well, I believe that. I think that could have happened. Could it?
I just read, and the short answer is yes. I mean, I just watched a major network did this, and I don't know why it hasn't got more views or being talked about inside of this community. The New Jersey drones. Do you know what they were?
Planes?
According to the government.
What?
They were car-sized secret technology. Us. And we were test flying it over New Jersey. Car-sized autonomous drones. And apparently the company that built them, there was 6 flying in formation. So all of those reports that were coming in, dude, car-sized drone. Well, they were.
Yeah.
They really were. And if you go back and examine, which takes us right back to the Nimitz and what you're talking about here. Because if you remember, the Pentagon and the White House literally took an about face on the whole thing and said, the FAA knows what's going on.
Right. I remember that.
Right.
Remember, they were issuing all. I looked into this NOTAMs, basically creating these no-fly zones, and I looked into it, and sure enough, they were putting all these little mini no-fly zones all around the energy infrastructure. So if a town had a switching station or an electric power grid plant, they put a NOTAM around that for drones, basically. And I started thinking, there's got to be a connection here. I never put it together. Like, why? Here's something else. Like, in the discussion that we just had, I was having the same discussion with a very high-ranking Navy retiree that was a former fighter pilot, an F/A-18 Super Hornet pilot that recently retired. Like, before that, he wouldn't even say a word to me. But now we banter around and we argue about stuff. Which is kind of interesting to have someone like that. So I was floating all this stuff about the USS Georgia and for a while there he was biting on it, but then he just stopped and he's like, no, there's no way that anybody that was part of something that was that like a unacknowledged special access program would blaze in onto a Nimitz carrier and start taking stuff without everyone seeing them what they're doing. That's not how they operate. That's not how it would be done. Like no one would see that.
You would think that, and then, but there's something else that, and we could, let's end the show on this. I really want your thoughts on this. There is plenty of stuff where we have tested weapons with our own military. Nuclear test, right? With the goggles out in the, in the Nevada desert, you're watching nuclear bombs blow up right in front of you. But what the difference with that is that what's about to happen. With the Nimitz, if it was our technology that we were using and checking to see if the sensor data would pick it up and this new radar system that was installed and everything else, to not announce that or have that part of the battle plan and everything else where the commander of that battle group knows, you don't necessarily have to tell everybody.
No.
Right? But would you do it completely by surprise? I have a problem with that part. I really, really do.
Well,
how do you know that they're not going to start firing live weapons and set off a friggin' incident off the coast of You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I totally get that. My rebuttal to that would be, well, what if these guys, these SEALs in the SOCOM are out there and they didn't expect anyone to catch them? That they were, they wanted to sneak in at night and see if they could pop up and capture the radar signature of the spy, and then zip back in and, hey, we got it, and they go over and they film this and they send SEAL teams out in their SEAL delivery vehicles and they land on shore. They do their covert operations. Maybe they didn't expect to get caught.
Okay, here's the other alternative. That was the USS Georgia, maybe, allegedly.
Maybe.
But let's say, okay, but that carrier battle group, the Nimitz, it's got 2 subs with it.
Yep.
So they detect a sub out there that's not supposed to be there. Dude, we got a Russian sub. We got a Russian sub 180 degrees right there up the horizon. It's 12 miles out. Right?
Okay.
You know those submarine commands, load the tubes, and we're taking out one of our own subs because we don't know. I don't know, man. I feel weird about it.
Well, the F-18 pilot, again, he kind of brushed that off and said, I think it's Russian. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, this happened all the time. He goes, like, we were always trying to chase these subs. They'd leave whatever that place is in Russia. And, we would immediately lose them. And then we get
Minsk. They leave Minsk.
Yeah. He said that happened all the time where they would lose them.
Right.
And then they couldn't find them. And, then they would show up in the Gulf of Mexico or something like that. So is it possible that Russia was out there shadowing a strike group, trying to get waveform signatures on this new Spy 1 radar? Oh,
no.
Yeah.
No,
So,
I'm saying no.
That's what he said. He was,
right. But okay. One last thing, though. By the way, Dave, I love you, man. Your work is the best. I can talk to you all night long. 80,000 feet to sea level in a second throws all of this off kilter to me. That's the part that I just can't wrap my head around.
I have that. We already talked about that. So say this again, this is just speculative. I don't know. I'm speculating. Like, okay, so the SOCOM sub is out there. They want to conduct surveillance. And then the Navy has these advanced drones that they're launching off of San Nicolas Island that are car-sized, big-ass drones that have these radar jamming systems in them so that they're shooting out like false returns and echoes and things. And they're flying from where Kevin might have seen them at, really slow. And they're broadcasting this and the spy is just flipping out. Now, you might say, well, hey, the Spy 1 and the CEC capability avoids that because there's multiple sensors. You have multiple radars of different ships. Well, the other 2 ships weren't there. If you recall, the Chaffee and I forget the other one, they were coming from Hawaii. They hadn't arrived yet. So they didn't necessarily have the CEC combined.
The network wasn't complete.
So it was one radar.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been something we had that was jamming that and it caused these returns to, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was, non-human craft that were doing this 24,000 mile an hour descent from space that Kevin saw. I mean, I'm not questioning what his beliefs are and the other guys there. That's what they say they saw, and that those tracks were real. They weren't false returns. So,
right. It's we're nowhere near the end of this. We're not.
That's why I keep changing. I can keep making a new movie. I'm just going to keep making the Nimitz encounter never ends, man. It's not a Hollywood feature. I'll just keep releasing.
I'll keep having you back on the show too.
Sure.
So, there you go. Dave, thank you so much. Where can everybody? Oh, you had the whole your World War II stuff that you're working on too as well, and constantly contributing to. Where can everybody? What's the best place to go and follow your work?
I really appreciate having us on tonight, Jimmy. I know how busy you are too. So, like the World War II Foundation is a wonderful organization. We've done like over 40 films. I'm headed to Normandy next week to do a film.
We just talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we're shooting over there with Gary Sinise, the actor from Forrest Gump, and his foundation. So WWII Foundation.org. All the films are there. You can watch for free. The NimitzEncounter.com. I'm going to date that as soon as I finish this next iteration of that film that Jimmy showed a little teaser of here. And then consciousness.media is the showcase for our Gaia series on the consciousness connection.
Yeah, just congratulations, man. And never stop what you're doing. Never. Dave, you're the absolute best. I look forward to our next conversation, man. And just enjoy the rest of your evening out there in Florida. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Dave Beaty, everybody. It's Dave with one T. I'll talk to you, Dave. Bye, man. The absolute best right there. Dave Beaty. His links are below. We've got him over on the website and throughout social media. Great conversation tonight, Dave. Thank you so much. And that will conclude another week here on Fade to Black. That's right. It's my Friday. Very excited. I'm going to do an all-day Harley event on Saturday. Going to ride, going to do the polka run. We got a car show. We've got a bike show. We've got a concert. And so that's what I'm going to do besides working tomorrow and working Sunday. I'll see you right back here on Monday for Fade to Black. But for now, all I've got is go Beckley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Beckley Tappy.